Jennifer Lopez was never supposed to be a singer. She was supposed to be a dancer, a performer from the Bronx with big dreams and bigger ambition. She could move like no one else, smile like a movie star, and command a stage before she even said a word. But somewhere along the way, J.Lo became something else entirely, a manufactured pop icon built on other people's voices. And the deeper you go, the clearer it becomes that her entire career might be one of the most glamorous scams in pop culture history. It all started with Selena. In 1997, Jennifer Lopez landed the role of a lifetime, portraying Tejano superstar Selena Quintanilla, whose life had ended in tragedy. The film was emotional, inspiring, and unforgettable. Jennifer played the role so convincingly that audiences felt like they were watching the real Selena. But there was one detail most people missed. She wasn't actually singing. Every performance used Selena's original vocals. J.Lo lip-synced her way through the role that made her famous. And in hindsight, that moment feels symbolic, because Jennifer Lopez's entire career began with another woman's voice. 2 years later, she stepped out as a recording artist with her debut album On the Six. Her first single, If You Had My Love, exploded. It shot to #1 on Billboard, went platinum in 2 weeks, and turned her into an instant pop phenomenon. The world saw it as her big break. The dancer turned singer, the actress turned icon. But behind the scenes, the story was much murkier. Producer Rodney Jerkins, known as Darkchild, had already written an almost identical track for R&B singer Ashanti Moore called If I Gave Love. When Puff Daddy, Jennifer's boyfriend at the time, heard it in the studio, he wanted it for her. Darkchild rewrote it just enough to dodge legal issues. The melody, tone, and structure stayed the same. Only the singer changed. So If I Gave Love became If You Had My Love. Ashanti Moore's song never came out, while J.Lo's topped the charts. From the start, her first big hit wasn't so much inspired by someone else, it was someone else's. Her second single, Waiting for Tonight, had its own secret. The song was originally recorded by a dance pop group called Third Party. When Jennifer first heard the demo, she reportedly hated it and said she never wanted to record it. But when she finally did, she kept the original group's backing vocals layered underneath her own. Listen closely and you'll hear them. The faint harmonies that give the song its shimmer. They don't belong to J.Lo. She didn't erase their voices, she just buried them under her own. It was the beginning of a pattern that would define her entire career. The early 2000s solidified Jennifer Lopez as a superstar, but not always for the reasons people think. Her song Play was written and sung by a young Christina Milian who had recorded the demo, hoping it would launch her career. Instead, the label gave it to Jennifer. When J.Lo recorded the final version, she kept Christina's demo vocals on the hook, the most recognizable part of the song. That isn't J.Lo singing the famous line, "Play my favorite song." That's Christina Milian. Jennifer Lopez didn't even sing the chorus of her own single. She just performed it. Then came I'm Real, the remix that changed everything. At that time, Sony Music head Tommy Mottola was Jennifer's label boss and Mariah Carey's bitter ex-husband. When he found out Mariah was recording a duet with Ja Rule for her Glitter soundtrack, he called up producer Irv Gotti and told him to create something similar for Lopez Fast. That's how the I'm Real Murder remix was born. Ashanti wrote the lyrics, recorded the reference track, and expected her demo to stay behind the scenes. But when the single came out, her vocals were still on it. Jennifer Lopez simply sang over them. Ashanti later admitted, "I referenced the record for her, and they left my background vocals on there." In plain English, she sang it, Lopez took it, and the world gave Jennifer the credit. That song didn't just spark a hit, it created a controversy. Fans called out Jennifer for using the N-word in the lyrics, something Ashanti never wrote, and the track drew outrage. But the real story wasn't the slur, it was the deception. The voice that made J.Lo sound cool, edgy, and urban wasn't even hers. It belonged to another woman entirely. And watching all of this unfold was Mariah Carey. When an interviewer once brought up Jennifer Lopez's name, Mariah smiled and said the 3 words that became pop culture legend, "I don't know her." It was the perfect jab, because she did know. She knew what was happening behind the scenes. Later, Mariah said, "If I had the luxury of not actually having to sing my own songs, I'd do that too." It was a direct hit. J.Lo's biggest competitor was calling out what everyone else had ignored, that Jennifer Lopez wasn't really singing the songs that made her famous. By now, her discography was a collage of borrowed voices. Ain't It Funny was written and demoed by Ashanti. I'm Gonna Be Alright featured another uncredited singer's vocals. And then there was Jenny from the Block, the track that became her brand. The song that told the world she was still just a girl from the Bronx, real, grounded, and authentic. But even that authenticity wasn't real. The demo had been recorded by a background vocalist named Natasha Ramos, whose tone was eerily similar to Jennifer's. When the final version came out, Natasha's ad-libs, her laugh, even the famous line "from the Bronx" were left in the song. Natasha later said, "They cut my laugh, they kept my ad-libs, and they turned her vocals way down. The 'from the Bronx' part, that's me." While Natasha was waiting tables to pay her bills, her voice was being broadcast around the world under someone else's name. It didn't stop there. In 2004, Amerie recorded a song called "One Thing," a funky, infectious track that her label initially rejected. But when Jennifer Lopez heard it, she wanted it for her album. Amerie and producer Rich Harrison leaked the song to radio before J.Lo could take it. That quick move saved Amerie's career. Jennifer got the leftovers instead, a track originally written for Usher called "Ride," which became "Get Right." Even Usher wasn't happy, saying publicly, "I hate it. I better be getting some publishing." Around the same time, another song titled "Ride or Die" appeared on J.Lo's album, a track that Brandy had written and sung for her own project before it was mysteriously passed along to Lopez, vocals intact. By this point, it was undeniable. Every hit followed the same blueprint. The industry treated Jennifer Lopez like a blank canvas, a beautiful, bankable face they could project anything onto. She didn't have to sing like Mariah or Whitney. She just had to look like she could. And to her credit, she sold it better than anyone. From "Love Don't Cost a Thing" to Jenny from the Block, she embodied the fantasy, the self-made Latina superstar who could act, sing, and dance. She was the total package, the brand every label wanted to build. But behind that brand were dozens of women whose voices shaped her legacy. Now, more than 2 decades later, that image is cracking. Her self-funded "This Is Me Now" album and its accompanying film were meant to be a comeback, a romantic ode to her love story with Ben Affleck, a declaration of growth and authenticity. Instead, critics called the project self-indulgent and out of touch. The $20 million film she financed herself flopped, the music underperformed, and her tour quietly rebranded as a greatest hits show. It was a quiet admission that the nostalgia for who J.Lo was sells better than who she's trying to be now. Maybe that's poetic justice, because Jennifer Lopez's entire career has been built on illusion. The illusion of authenticity, the illusion of talent, the illusion of effortlessness. For 25 years, she's sold the idea that she's real, even when the foundation of that reality was borrowed from someone else. She didn't just borrow other people's songs. She borrowed their stories, their sounds, their identities. And maybe that's why the backlash feels different this time. The internet doesn't forget. Fans have receipts, demos, and side-by-side comparisons. Producers talk, singers post, and suddenly, the illusion is impossible to maintain. Jennifer Lopez isn't necessarily a villain. She's a product of a system that rewards image over honesty, an industry where the marketing machine matters more than the music itself. She represents the era when performance could mask everything, when charisma and choreography mattered more than craft. But now, authenticity is currency. Listeners want truth. They want raw vocals, emotion, imperfection. And J.Lo's carefully engineered perfection doesn't play the same way anymore. It's easy to see why audiences are turning on her. It's not because she's talentless. She's not. It's because the spell is breaking. Jennifer Lopez became one of the most famous women in the world by mastering performance. But performance only works if people still believe in it. And when fans start to see the wires, when they hear the demos and learn who really sang, the magic fades. So, who is Jennifer Lopez when the playback finally stops? If her career was built on 1,000 borrowed notes, Can she ever stand on her own? Maybe that's the tragedy here. She spent decades chasing perfection, building an empire out of borrowed brilliance. And now the world is demanding something she's never had to give: authenticity. The woman who sang "I'm Real" is being asked to finally prove it. Jennifer Lopez didn't just play the pop culture game, she was the game. The face, the voice, the myth. A billionaire built on a fantasy. But in a world that craves honesty, that fantasy may be her undoing. Because the truth about Jennifer Lopez isn't that she can't sing, it's that for 25 years she didn't have to. And now, for the first time, she might have to face the silence. When the music stops and the real voices come forward, the question isn't whether J.Lo can hit the notes, it's whether she ever will. Because the story of Jennifer Lopez isn't just about fame or success, it's about how far an illusion can go before the world finally notices it's not real. And when that moment comes, when the playback is off and the mic is truly live, the world will finally find out who J.Lo really is. I'm the Pop Professor. See you next class.